Let me fire this up and get the, let's see, I guess this wants to be up here. All right, so here is a question, actually we need that. Here's a question I want to pose to you. There we go. This is a fairly procedural example. Fairly procedural, however, it shows the power of what we're talking about right now. It's the power of what we're talking about. It was chuckle. We've been talking about this for a couple days now. And I bring it up also because right now, COCC is talking about the insurance plans. The insurance plan that's going to offer its employees in the coming years. Because right now, the economy's in a turmoil. Things are going left and right, and up and down, mostly down, not so much up anymore. And they're offering different insurance plans. And one of the ways that a lot of employers are trying to save money on insurance is offering what are called high deductible health plans. Has anybody heard of these? HDHPs. You guys have heard of them. Good. Who knows? You guys know what they are? As far as why they're called high deductible health plans?
The deductible is high because that lowers your monthly payment.
What we have at I work for a bank, that's what I have at the bank.
Yeah,
I have a very high deductible,
yeah.
but I hope to God my parents will pay for me to live if I'm dying.
So this is fantastic. It's a gamble. So usually you have 2 or 3 or 4 choices of insurance. Sometimes only 2, sometimes only 1. But if you have more than 1, very often you have what's like a classic health insurance plan or this high deductible health. A deductible for insurance is what you have to pay out of pocket if something happens. Like when you get in a car accident, the deductible is what you pay before the insurance kicks in. So very often when you go to the doctor, suppose you break your leg, go to the hospital, you'll have a $250 deductible, and then the insurance picks up the remainder of the cost. That's a normal plan. A high deductible health plan would be like you have to pay $500 before the insurance, or $1,000, no, that's the maximum out of pocket. Hold that thought, Cheryl. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Hold that thought, friend. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. I'm glad that was right in front of the camera. So the deal is, though, Penelope hit the nail on the head. She said, I'm using the high deductible health plan, and the reason you do that is, sure, you have to pay more for the deductible, but your monthly cost of the plan is much less. For example, I believe, and I'm saying I believe this because I'm not sure, I think the monthly cost for COCC's Plan 9, the HDHP, the high is a fifth of what the monthly cost is for the normal plan. Now, of course, you're paying less in premium for month to month, but you get whacked when you actually go to the doctor because you have to pay so much more than the deductible. So when would it make sense to purchase the high deductible health plan, or to go with that one, Kelly?
If you know you're not going to use it.
Well, you never know that.
Well, if you're an average healthy person.
If you think you're a healthy person that's not going to use the doctor that much, it makes sense. Part of the reason it makes sense is your employer often puts a chunk of money towards your deductible. Now, what that ends up being is essentially equally the amount of premiums that I pay monthly plus the deductible paid by COCC is roughly equal to the amount of the premiums I would have paid on the old plan through COCC. So if you add up 12 months of the normal plan payment, whatever that dollar amount is, and you add up what I pay right now over 12 months plus that deductible that they've paid into a health savings account, roughly the same amount. The big difference is, after 1 year, the first plan where I didn't have the HSA, I paid all that money into premiums and it goes away. We're going to talk about that in a minute right here.
So you lost that money.
You paid the privilege of having insurance.
Right.
So yes, if you didn't die or get sick, you lost the money. It went into the pot. We're going to get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a second, okay? That's part of this problem right here. With the high deductible health plan, if we don't go to the doctor or don't go to the doctor a lot, we've lost our premium payment, but remember that was 1/5 of what the other premium payment was. And guess what happened to that money in that HSA? I keep it. That rolls over to the next year, and the employer puts more money into it. So after you save those premium payments over 3 and 4 and 5 years, you've actually earned enough money to cover, Cheryl, the occasional time when you have the maximum payout of $10,000. It's sitting in that account waiting for you to use, God forbid if you should need it. I see what you're saying, and I had to explain this to my colleagues. A lot of them were afraid of this plan because they saw the maximum out of pocket was $10,000. They said, I can't afford $10,000. And I said, that's okay. Most likely you won't have to pay it. Well, what do you mean? Most likely you won't have to pay it. That's the maximum out of pocket. Maximum out of pocket. Go ahead, Cheryl. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm talking, I don't have an employer, I'm just talking we buy.
Totally.
And I think I bumped it up to either like 7,500 or 10,000 per person to try to get my monthly payments down, just to keep health insurance.
I'm with you, sister, but you have to look at what that 7,500 or 10,000 is. It's a maximum out-of-pocket expenditure.
But I don't think they cover 100%. Then I think the only.
After that, they'll cover 100% or 80%. After that deductible is met, then they'll cover 100%. No, you got to look at the fine print on these things. You definitely do.
Yeah.
But the reason it's called a high deductible is because you have to get to that amount, then the 100% or max coverage will kick in.
Right.
But what Kelly said rings true. If you can analyze your health habits and see if you're likely not to use the doctor all that much, it makes sense to go with that high deductible health plan because you're saving money month to month and you're keeping that rollover HSA from year to year.
Well, I'm kind of HSA then.
Well, and again, different plans are different. But all I'm saying is you have to analyze the likelihood. You can't just say, oh, that plan covers the most and I have to go with that one. Well, maybe if you're on a lot of prescription drugs, if you go to the doctor quite a bit for whatever pre-existing condition, that might make the most sense. I mean, it might. But you have to analyze it. That's what me and Jen did. And we said, dude, this makes the perfect sense. And what's funny is the first year it was offered, I think 12 people used that plan. The next year it doubled. The next year after that it tripled. People began to realize, oh my God, this does make sense. For some people, it doesn't make sense for everybody. But that's why it's nice to have the choice of plans. Yeah.
Can I backtrack you to the?
Of course.
I was lucky and my mom was a nurse and I never had to worry about the
Health insurance, right,
thing
sure.
until now, and I just don't even care because I'm like, whatever, I don't really.
Sure.
I might have to go to the doctor once in a while, but.
As you get older, you start caring more.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. But can you explain that premium thing?
Oh,
and
we're going to, brother.
Okay.
Give me 10 minutes.
All
We're
right.
going. Oh yeah,
All right.
we need to talk about that
I'm a
for
little
sure.
lost on that.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get too much into the high deductible versus the normal plan, but I do want to talk about what premiums are in context of this problem, because this applies to just about everybody that has insurance.
Okay.
So give me 10 minutes, for sure. Penelope, go ahead.
That doesn't matter.
You sure?
I was just going to say, because if you're analyzing every aspect, you have to analyze exactly what, and let's say my plans sound very similar, they cover routine exams, so you don't have to pay for your
Correct.
routine exam. It's just
Wellness.
Exactly.
There's all these wellness
Not-
clauses
it's
that
not
things are covered with, not deductible applied. Totally. And this is why actuaries get paid six figures, right? Actuaries are basically statistical analysts. And people always ask me, why don't you be an actuary? I'm like, because I can't sit in a cubicle for 8 hours a day and crunch numbers. And I just can't do it. I want to be here with you guys talking about this kind of stuff with you guys. But you make six figures. I'm like, yes. And I pull all my hair out. And I kind of like my hair. So the idea is that you do, they have to though. They have to. More on that. Penelope, you've actually already talked about Part B. So Maddie, you're asking about Part A.
Well,
And Penelope, you're asking about Part B. So thank you guys for making this be a good problem to actually work today. So I
Just to
appreciate
let you
that.
know, at the St. Charles Immediate Care, I had a sinus infection a week ago, and I went in there and I was like, I don't have health insurance, and they're like, well, if you pay today, it's $89. And I was like, all right, that's
Okay.
sweet, but if you don't pay today, it's going to be like $400. And I was like, well, I'll pay $89
Something
today.
subsidizing that.
I
There's
was
something
just
else
like-
going on there. Something subsidizing that.
And it was only like $12 for my antibiotics too. So I was like,
Okay.
well, screw health insurance.
There-
If this is all I ever get.
There's an actuarial behind the scenes happening there that I don't understand.
Okay.
But there is something is being paid and everything has to balance. That's again Part B here.
Okay.
Things have to balance. I just don't understand what they are.
Okay.
And I don't understand the like I said, I was just in Canada and every Canadian I met, oh, you're from America, how do you like your health care? It's fine, dude.
Yeah.
It's fine, poser. But every Canadian come around trying to pick a fight with me, being like, oh, your healthcare sucks. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm a healthy dude, so go screw yourself. It was so funny. I got like 5 or 6 near fights with people because they wanted to, because Canadians have universal healthcare. Universal socialized healthcare, right? They break their leg, they go to the hospital, they don't have to pay a thing, they get their leg fixed.
But I've also heard it
They
takes
get older,
forever in
they
that
don't
part
know.
of stuff.
Well, according to these guys, it doesn't.
Okay.
According to these Canadians, one of the guys said he had just gouged his leg and he showed me the stitches. They were done properly. The wound looked fine. He was healed. He said he was in and out in an hour. Now, he said sometimes he has to wait an hour to see a doctor, but I mean, how many of us don't, right? How many of us don't have to wait an hour? You have an appointment at 8 o'clock, you're looking at it by 10:30. Yeah, you know.
My uncle lived in Canada and he had to wait for an extremely long time when he had health problems.
No, but remember, and this is the difference between if you have one, you very often hear from people when they're upset about something. So somebody that has to wait, say, 6 hours for a doctor is likely and should be complaining about that. But what you don't hear from are the 30 people that didn't wait for 6 hours, that got in on time when everything was working just fine. I heard from 6 people that had no issues at all. So I put your uncle into that pot with those 6 people, and I'm like, oh, so it's 1 in 7. So 14% of the time, people have an issue with waiting, and the other. I mean, that's how you have to look at it. You have to look at it that way. You have to put it all together and look at it statistically. Otherwise, you're basing everything on outliers. Think about this. Who's most likely to write a review on Amazon?
Someone is complaining.
Someone who's either wickedly upset or wickedly happy. There are some very good objective reviews for it, but if you ever get a chance, look at some of those reviews. Oh, this product sucks. Oh, this product sucks. You don't ever see like, this is completely average. This product met my expectations and did no more. I mean, you don't see reviews like that. You don't see the normal self-proffered reviews that are completely average. You get these extremes. So I'm with you, Janelle. I don't doubt it doesn't happen. But it's just that we have to weight that with what I heard, a couple days ago. So, yeah, Gabe.
You just gotta say you have heart problems or head trauma, and then they'll get you right in.
Or that.
Yeah.
Or that with your toe is bleeding. I know, but my head. Woo! My toe bleeding. I'm not doubting you. Yeah, I know.
My husband works security at the hospital.
Uh-huh.
And the transients have learned that if they say they have a medical problem, even if they don't, they'll get at least 8 hours of sleep and a roof over their head.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's the system. The system inevitably is going to have loopholes to exploit any system. It has to, essentially. It has to, because you have to have a system built for a modality, and the modality is just that. It's a modality, not the totality. So again, back to Janelle's example, you gave me 1 data point of an entire data set. I gave you 6 more. We put it together, we have a small subset, a small image of what the entire data set looks like. But not complete, but at least it's more than just 1 or 6. Cool?
Yes.
Let's talk about the nuts and bolts of insurance and how it relates to Chuck-a-Luck. Because that's the whole thing. We played Chuck-a-Luck a couple days ago. We figured out the average winnings on Chuck-a-Luck, which were actually average losings, right? 40% of a starburst per game. Then we analyzed the mathematics of other Vegas games, I believe. And we always lose. You always lose. Well, guess what? You always lose with insurance, too. And this goes back to what somebody asked over here. I forget. It might have been Lynn. Somebody said, it's what I said, and you reacted to it. I said, after a year goes by, you're just out your premium. And you said, oh, you've lost that money. And I rephrased it. I said, you've paid for the privilege of having insurance. I mean, it's called insurance for a reason. It's not called a guarantee. It's called an insurance policy. So here's a stripped down, very simple insurance policy. Okay? You've got a 21-year-old male. You're going to charge him a premium of $250. So, Maddie, to define a premium is simply the monthly charge you have to pay to keep the policy. So that's your premium payment. On your car insurance, you pay a premium every month. Your phone bill, you pay a premium. They don't always call it the same thing. Insurance policy usually calls premiums. Okay? $50 for a 1-year, $100,000 life insurance policy. So, if you die within that year, your heirs get the remainder of the $100,000 after you take your premium out of it. Fair enough? Okay, if you don't, you're out the $250. So there's 2 outcomes. You live or you die. Just like there were 4 outcomes for Chuck-a-Luck. You roll 0, 1, 2, or 3 5s. So it's a matter of outcomes. Okay? This right here, 21-year-old male, 0.9985 chance of living for the year. I checked that for a 21-year-old male based in Bend, Oregon. Or actually, it was Oregon in general, probably Portland. But the National Center for Health Statistics actually says that's the probability. 99.85% chance of living through the year. So you've got a 0.15% chance of dying. So essentially, what is that? Let's go back to that real quick. What does that mean? 99.85% chance of living through the year. What does that mean? Should you feel good about that if you're a 21-year-old male?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but what does it mean? Quantify it for me.
365 days.
Okay, for over 365 days, right? But what is the 0.9985? Make that meaningful for me.
100 out of 100%.
I'm going to make the number bigger, it's okay, Shirley. Out of 10,000 people
Okay.
that are 21-year-old males in this given geographic region, how many of them are going to live through the year? Right, 9,985 of them are going to live through the year. We're going to lose 15 of them. That's what it means, right? Out of every 10,000 21-year-old males in that geographic region with those constructs, we're going to lose 15 of them for whatever reason. And we're going to keep most of them, the 9,985. Go ahead, Shirley.
Is there a reason why you couldn't just do the data with the numbers that you have there rather than changing them? Is it just because?
When you say changing, what do you
I
mean?
mean, like you said, I want to change that to 10,000.
Oh no, there's not at all. But people, I think, understand.
The bigger.
Well, here's why. I could be wrong. They understand 9,985 out of 10,000 people rather than 99.85 guys out of 100. Because they're like, well, what's 0.85 of a guy? Well, it's an average. Well, what's 0.85 of a guy? We could just ignore the decimal and make it a whole number. That's the only reason I say it. Only reason I say it. Fair?
Yeah,
Fair.
absolutely.
Cool. So the question is, one of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to die, and their family's going to get the remainder of that money, or they're going to live, and they're out the premium. So the first question I have is, on average, what can a 21-year-old guy expect? Well, to live, for sure. But I want a long-run average accounting for all the possibilities. So, for example, when we played Chuck-a-Luck, there were 4 outcomes. You either lose your ante, win your ante back, do 1 starburst better than ante, or do 9 starbursts better than ante. But when you averaged all that together, it averaged to losing 40% of a starburst each time. I want that average here. On average, what happens? Well, let's figure it out. That's the whole point.
That's what you mean by value?
The expected value, yes. That's expected value. Yep. Expected value is basically just a weighted average of what can happen. And it has to be a weighted average because there are different probabilities of living and dying. So here, I'm going to create a column over here that isn't part of the computation. This is the outcome. So you got live and you got die. Okay. Here. We got live and die. What are the 2 payouts? So, if you will, the payouts are going to be just like they were with Chuck-a-Luck. So, suppose you live. What's the payout? Okay, payout's money.
You gotta pay out $200.
Negative 250, isn't
Oh,
it?
right, you lost.
We have to make sure that's negative because you paid that money in for the year. So you're down $250 if you live through that year.
Times 12.
We can take care of that tonight. Hold tight. We're going to take care of that a different way. We can now. You only pay it once.
Yeah, you're only.
I see what you're saying. It's premium for a 1-year life insurance policy. This isn't a monthly premium. You can break that up by 12 if you want. We're going to deal with the 1 year momentarily. Okay? So that's the payout for that. What's the probability of that happening? Probability. Well, that's the 0.9985. Right? That's your weight for that component. So this is like, if you will, this is that very heavy credit class you took in this term. You took a 5-credit class and a 1-credit class. This is your 5-credit class. I'll have the weights right there. Actually, it's your 99.8 credit class. Fair enough? Sweet. All right. Now, how about if we die?
99,750.
Exactly. It's not 100,000. It's a gain of $99,750 because they're going to withhold that premium from you. So that has to come out of that pot. Just like when you roll 3 5s in Chuck-a-Luck, they pay you 10, but you really only clear 9 because you had to pay the ante to play. So the ante, are you seeing the correlation now between the ante? The ante in Chuck-a-Luck is the same as the what here? Exactly. The ante in Chuck-a-Luck is the same as the premium. So it's gambling. Can you see how it's gambling? It's all based on chance. You don't know if you're going to live or die. That's why I corrected what Kelly said. You don't know if you're going to live or die. You've got a likelihood of living or dying. So here's the chance you live. What's the chance you die? Everything else, 0.0015. That's everything else. It has to say it, Kurt. What? Not within the year, though, bro. But not within the year. This is. You have the taxes, right? You have the taxes. All right, bring up the carbonated again, Kurt. So, and And how do we figure this out, friends? Remember how we figured this out?
We took 10,000 people.
Right. This has to sum to 100. 100%. So if one of them is 99.85%, the other one has to be 0.15% to make it up to 100%. So we'll chuckle up the add up to 100% as well. Fair enough? That's it. That's the lion's share of the work right there, friends. That's the lion's share of the work. Everything else is just a computation, because now it's the weighted average. You're going to do that payout times that weight plus that payout times that weight. That's it. That's the average. So let's do it. Your average now is going to be that negative 250 times the 95% plus the 99,750. Now, this might seem like we're glossing through why we're multiplying and adding, but refer back to the GPA example and refer back to the Chuck-a-Luck example. It's the way you calculate weighted averages. That's all it is a weighted average. And we don't have to divide by anything like we did with GPA. Remember why we don't have to divide by anything like we did with GPA? Because what you would divide by sums up to 1 anyway. So dividing by 1 is like not changing it at all. So there's no need to. Awesome. What do we get, friends? Oh, sorry. Let's crunch it. Negative 250. You said numbers. That was an awesome answer.
It's negative 249.625.
There we go. Love it, Maddie. Cindy, what's on your mind, my friend?
Oh, I was going to say I have the other one.
Oh, you have it too. Excellent.
And then the other one is,
Oh, wait a minute. I got this.
all together, yeah.
Oh, so Matt, you're saying this is that.
Yeah,
And then this is, I did the whole
yeah.
thing at once. Sorry, I got you. So this comes out to be negative $100 on average. On average. Now, good. I'm seeing quizzical looks.
Oh.
That's good. They should be quizzical because you're sitting there going, wait a minute. You either lose $250 or you gain 99,750. How does negative 100 play into that? Go ahead, Penelope.
More 15 people are dying a year.
Right. Think about it this way. Think about it out of 10,000 people. Out of 10,000 people, 15 of them are making that much money. 15 of those people are making that much money. The other 9,985 are losing that much money. When you add up all those amounts and divide by 10,000, it's a loss of $100 on average, which means the ones that earned all that money, if they give that money back to the ones that lost their money, everybody loses $100 on average. On average, that's all it is it's an average. That's all it is it's an average. That's all. That's all. But, go ahead. What's up, Tiffany? What's on your mind? What do you?
I'll do it.
Oh, the thing up at top? That's irrelevant. That's what I did last class. Hang on.
Thank you.
Here. Okay. There. That's all you need to worry about.
Thank you.
That was 244.
Thank you.
My bad. We'll get to that next term after.
Okay.
Why does it make sense that that's a negative value? Why do they have to lose money on average?
Because people are going to stay home.
Because the insurance companies have, remember, the insurance companies, you're losing that money on average, $100 a pop. The insurance company is making the money, correct? They have to pay for their employees. Employees' health benefits, for that matter, rent, utilities. Where does that money come from? Right there. Right there. That's where it comes from. It comes from that.
And then when they do have to pay out, they have to have that money.
Exactly. They have to have the pool. I mean, the idea of insurance, the whole reason insurance started in the first place was communities getting together and pulling their funds into one common place so that when one member of the community got hurt or sick, they could then assign the funds to that. I mean, it basically started back in the day, way back in the day, very unofficially. It's much more official now. And I know insurance companies catch a mad rap for this. They do. They do. But they have to keep an eye on their baseline. They have to keep an eye on that baseline because they have to make sure the money is there when things happen. I heard some insurance companies during Katrina got nailed. Got totally nailed from what happened to Katrina because they had the numbers off. No, what were you going to say, Penelope?
Oh, it's still a business.
It's
an institution.
Oh, right. Insurance companies are still a business. They have to make money. So what they have to keep an eye on, and this is where Part B comes in. Oh, you don't see Part B anymore. Here's where Part B comes in. The idea of a break-even point. So right now, think about this, when we charge people $250 for this policy, the company earns $100 back. They might want to consider giving people a break on their policies. They might say, you know what, we reran our numbers, and we've made enough money now. We're making too much money, basically. I can't imagine insurance companies ever doing this. But we reran our numbers, and we're going to re-offer you a new rate now that's lower. But they got to be careful. They can't offer a rate so low that that number turns positive, because that means you're out average, you're making money. So in order to just break even, that would mean what would turn this number into a zero? What do you think, Chris?
Put it into the negative 250.
Give the people this money back. If you gave that $100 back to the people and only charged them $150 versus $250, it would average out to zero. Watch, check it out. Check it out.
That, or you could just kill more people.
What? Hang on, Scott. First of all, he didn't mean that, YouTube. Secondly,